Peter Frampton. I'm class of 1995. I think my husband Chris is trying to join us here. We're at two different locations, but he's class of 94. And we actually have a daughter, Charlotte, who's a current sophomore at Davidson. I currently serve on the Board of Trustees and am a trustee champion for this project alongside Andy Burnt, who is also on this Zoom tonight. And this is a project that we both feel very personally passionate about because we know what an incredible asset this is going to be for all the students at Davidson. Tonight, we will hear from President Doug Hicks, followed by a presentation from the Leland M. Park Director of the Library, Lisa Forrest, and the MSR Design Principal, Dagmara Larson, about why Davidson needs a new library and what our approach and design will be. And finally, Andy will lead us through a question portion at the end of the call. So please know that there's time to ask questions and engage and share your comments after the presentation. To kick us off, I will turn it over to President Doug Hicks, who is joining us from a very special and very appropriate spot on campus.
Thank you, Yvette. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? This is Doug Hicks here on the roof of the E.H. Little Library. I'm so excited to talk to you tonight about our Library of the Future project. I'm so honored to be a part of this. This project has been in the works for, it's been envisioned for decades, and it's been in planning stages for 6 years. Our faculty group worked hard for over 3 years on what we would need in a library from the future, retaining books and articles in hard copy and archives, and looking into our digital age to the kind of resources that are needed for students who learn in groups, who learn at a distance and nearby, and who learn using lots of digital technologies as well as books and articles. This library has been amazing for 50 years as the E.H. Little Library. Many of us studied here or didn't study in here and just hung out and socialized in here. And it has served its purpose so well. The frame of the building is strong. It's in the core of campus, and it's going to be transformed in honor and in memory of Professor George Lawrence Abernathy. I am so excited to tell you that this is the largest project in the history of Davidson College. It's been well thought out, and everything is aligning. We have raised $99 million for this project already. And so our $110 million goal for the library transformation and the library annex elsewhere on campus are in reach. We can do this together. And this is an exciting group of, and such an impressive group of alumni, friends, and family members of Davidson College on this call tonight. I thank you for your time and for your consideration. I don't think Zoom allows me to share the full energy I have for this project. It is transformative for Davidson College, for serving our students, faculty, staff, and community, and for recruiting the next generations of Davidson students. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going back to my office, and I will be in a more normal space, and I'll see you on Zoom. Thank you so much. All right, Lisa, going to you.
All right. Sure, I'll take it away. So I'm going to pick off where Doug left off here and give you guys a little overview about where we're at in the process, talk a little bit about the vision that Doug also referred to, and try to catch people up who haven't been on these calls before, and then Dagmara is going to take it away. There's a lot of excitement for this project right now. You can't walk across this campus and not feel it. Right now, we are in just hitting the design development stage here. You can see on the timeline, we just finished up schematic design. And so we're really starting to get more into the details. It's still not in the detail phase, but we have a really clear idea of the program that's going in the future library and a sense of the ethos for each floor, which Dagmara and I are going to dive into as we continue to go on here. Next slide, Dagmara.
Sure.
So, you know, Doug talked a little bit about the large group that we had put together over the last 3 years, a faculty group that was faculty, staff, students. And really the task of that group was to identify what is the vision for the future library. And in that process, we began to really understand that, you know, libraries are so symbolic. They represent the best of who we are. And for Davidson now to be at this place where this is the largest project that we've ever taken on, I think speaks volumes to what we value as an institution in terms of thinking about community, thinking about student success, thinking about faculty success, thinking about bringing together staff and faculty. There's so many things that the library can provide in terms of the ways that we're looking at the world today, teaching our students how to critically engage with information and technology, not just AI, but the next thing that's coming our way that we don't even know what's out there yet. It also really speaks to what we're seeing in students in terms of a place for refuge, for quiet. And, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go on, but it's one of the only spaces on this campus that you can really find quiet. And we really look at the library and quiet as a service here. And I'm very excited for you to see some of the ideas that have morphed from our planning group. Next slide, please. So this is the vision that was developed in 2020 by the task force. And, you know, what does this really mean? I think about it as it's a very dynamic place for students and faculty and staff to come together to not only be consuming information, but creating information and then understanding how to share that information. That's one part of it. Another part of it is making sure that our faculty have a place that they can come together to research, to write, to learn from one another. And then our community, our archives and special collections is so central to Davidson and even to the greater Charlotte area. And we only see that work growing with our archives and special collections. And you'll see that we are investing a significant amount in our future archives and special collections. And I'm very, very excited about that. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about the 2 years that we will be displaced across campus when the library construction is underway. I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and I feel really confident with the plan that we've come up with. So as Doug suggested before, there is a library annex. This is about a mile down the road on Dunmurray. The library staff, our collections team, and interlibrary loan, things that are sort of behind the scenes will be out here for the 2 years. Not to say they're not going to be on campus, but this is going to be their home base. Our entire collection will be moved out here. And then when the future library opens up, half of it will come back. We're using data to determine which books come back into the library, and books that haven't been checked out in over 20 years will remain at the library annex for same day or next day delivery. In terms of students and ways that we're thinking about them, it's an all campus effort. So, you know, we're so lucky to have such great partners across campus. We've identified many spaces. You might recognize this as the Lilly Gallery. We've designed already the Lilly to replicate the first floor of the library. So students will find the support they need from the teaching and learning teams. They're going to be on campus. All the research librarians, the digital learning team, and the archive special collections folks will be central in terms of teaching and still be here for the students. We will have all of their computers that they need, their laptop kiosk, you know, scanning, all the basic things that they get here now. And then also have classrooms separate, two classrooms in chambers for nighttime study. And then next slide. We found a space over in Talmanson Hall for study carols. I know many of you loved your carols. We are still planning on having a number of carols set aside for students to go to. In addition to these spaces, we have about 3 others that are situated across campus, but these will be the 2 main spaces, plus the 2 classrooms that we've identified in chambers that'll be 24/7. So we feel pretty good about this plan. And, you know, it's been a lot of work. I think it's a little bit like planning another library this in between, and the people who have been involved in this have just been fantastic. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dagmara to give a little glimpse on where we are.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. What a pleasure to be here and be a part of this journey for the last handful of years. If you can see the screen, I hope you can. We want to move quickly through just introductory slides. Some of you already have seen this. MSR Design, we're a women-owned business. We are national design practice. We have been awarded for our work nationally and internationally. Our combined years of experience in business are many. We've been going on for 43 years as a business, and we have many, many awards behind our belt. We are library experts, international library experts. Besides libraries, we also work on a community-based project, other university typologies, and public buildings. When we focus back to Davidson, where we are at, as Lisa mentioned, we just wrapped up schematic design and we aligned all the values and costs, and we are in design development. So we start with the program verification. We know there's an existing building, schematic design is here, and we're moving on. Some of you might have already seen this. This is a list of guiding principles that we established with the college early on in the process that are our guidelines for designing welcoming, connecting environment to cultivate and sustain knowledge building that can adapt over time and inspire. Our basis of design, the process that we establish as a basis of design involved not only library, but also staff at large, faculty, students. And from that collaboration, we came up with this diagram that really sums it up. We're going to have 3 floors of the library plus the addition, the rooftop pavilion. And the way we sorted out the building functions are based on how they serve the public. Object inquiry is on the bottom of that. Scholarly collaboration is in the main floor as you enter. Intellectual focus is the upper level that where a reading room will be present. And then we have inspirational sharing on the very top floor. Another thing that we establish is that the need for meandering, a need for a community of 2,000 students to get acquainted with each other and programming around it, and providing more daylight to this wonderful building. We know that students study at night, but they also should be inspired to learn during the day because we're going to have more classes in the building that we've had to date. And of course, as Doug started with the perspective of the roof, the presence on the campus, the vistas, and the connection is really important. That said, our building design starts here. It always will start with the site of the library and all the important memories and context. And from context perspective, there's a lot to take from. All the materials and emotions that are on the campus we're going to be building from that. That said, this is the site design. Again, this is schematic design. A lot of things will change. Just to orient you, Lisa and Jeff Case track and field complex is on the top of the page, and the library is in the center. So the main entry is on the bottom of the page. What used to be loading dock is going to be transformed into outdoor classroom. We're going to create new entries on lower level that allow for easy drop-off for events in the library building, and also for ADA drop-off from the curb in the back of the wall. We're moving our service yard to the other side to combine all the services. And we have great opportunities for art yard and display of public art in the back that is going to get renewed and on the rooftop of the library. That said, this is a facade looking at the front entry to the library. It's depicting it as it is currently. As part of this renovation, we're looking for transformation that is going to bring the daylight into the building and change the face of the library. With the addition to the roof of the rooftop pavilion, we have the opportunity to bring people up where Doug was greeting us today, and also to provide transparency to the building that will remove some of the barriers that exist in the current design. Similarly, in the back, this is the existing facade looking from the Case Sports Complex at the building. We're going to be bringing up more daylight by opening the punched windows on both sides and providing large opening right through the center of the building leading to the rooftop pavilion. Similarly, from loading dock that is going to transform into outdoor classroom, we're going to provide more daylight to teaching spaces and office spaces. And same on the other side, that is going to open up to more daylight as we approach the building. And speaking of the approach, if you come to an event at the library, you will be greeted by this view. And as Doug pointed out, there's much to be designed in this view. So I'm going to add more greenery and signage and wonderful things. This is just for massing reference. That said, it would be good for us to just focus a little bit on the addition. This is the entry from, just farther entry from the lawn. As you approach the building, you can start to see the volume of the rooftop pavilion. And this is a view, just if you were imagine yourself flying like a bird or a view from a drone. This shows a little bit better the proportion of the rooftop pavilion, the opportunity for skylights in it, and ample exterior space that we'll be providing. It's really important to us that we provide shaded space up there, and you will see a little later how we look at that. So here's a set of floor plans for some of you who are more curious at a schematic design level, starting with lower level, which is ground level for us. We're going to be not only bringing daylight on that level, but also allowing students and visitors to enter on this at the garden, bringing inside to the outside and vice versa with greenery present in the building. We have our couple classrooms on this level that are new, and also seminar rooms on this level that will be open to the library use. Because it's an object-based inquiry floor, all our special collections are being carried here with in light blue in the back, if you can see my cursor, storage and processing for our archives and rare books. We have reading room here as well for that collection that is special and open to the public. And our additional community space up here for anybody who would like to visit the campus. This is the extension of Race and Justice initiative, and we're looking forward to designing that space with the right sensitivity. On the first level, as you come through the location of the existing entry, we're going to maintain that same location, but nothing else will remain the same. You will be presented with opportunity to join CTL Classroom towards the left, and also enter a Scholar Studio. That's a new piece of functions. It's an entire suite with staff and faculty housed nearby that will have media production space, audio, recording, sound control space as well, and project rooms for all types of creation. Additionally, this is where somebody will reside to provide input into any project that will be on both technical and scholar level. On the second floor, our biggest addition here is reading room, but it's going to be facing the best view on the campus. And silent reading room where no electronics will be allowed as of right now. Additionally, we're providing another classroom here that will be registered classroom. One thing to point out is a wonderful opportunity to create an exchange of knowledge for faculty who are teaching in scholarship suite that is on the left over here, adjacent to an office space for library staff and faculty, with opportunity to share camaraderie over lunch in a staff lounge. On the rooftop pavilion level, level 3, we will have wonderful space for studying in a cafe during the day and night that we hope students truly going to enjoy, with opportunity to have access to food and nutrition through the cafe. And we've had wonderful conversations with the college staff speaking about nutritious meals and the right way of providing support for students at nighttime. And also there will be an opportunity for flexible space that can convert and transform from small events to large. Here, the setup you see is for 100 people event, but it can host a whole gamut of functions and opportunities for teaching, exchange, and scholarship. And also we're going to have the rooftop deck. So if the building was a cake and we would slice it from the main entry to the back towards the Case Sports Complex, we would be able to see that section that you see here. We'll have on the right, entry on the level 1, on the left, exit and entry from garden level that will lead students coming after a meal for night study. Serendipity space is a space of this discovery and object study right below the stair in a lower space on the lower level, adjacent and associated with the special collections. And then we have reading room up above, an opportunity to go to the deck. The stairs meander through the building on purpose to engage different building functions, showcase to students who are new to the college what are the opportunities, and make people create opportunity to meet people. Interior concept. Again, this is all about connection to daylight, opportunity to see, connecting the garden to the sky. We have monumental stair as that thread through the building, but also we're going to have spaces for discovery and enclosed programming that are going to be much more intimate and controlled. Right now at the early stage of design, we are very pleased to share with you interior palette that is going to have 3 components. In open spaces, common spaces, where there's going to be a lot of movement, we're looking at neutral, welcoming, and bright colors that are going to be timeless and stand and allow for that daylight to really benefit all the students once it enters the building. We're going to look for very local Piedmont grounding volumes to settle certain areas that need more focus or a backdrop to activity. And then in smaller spaces, perhaps study rooms where their students may self-select to study, we're looking at color saturation, different hues, so there will be a choice for everybody. Additionally, some spaces might add special treatment and intensity, like on the lower level, discovery and serendipity space that I pointed out below the lower levels there. They get more intense and darker to highlight the beautiful collections, including rare bugs, wonderful books, and different objects that may be on display or part of the discovery process throughout the year. So let me take you now for a walk through the building. If you were coming for a garden level, through one of the new entries. So we're approaching the building, crossing through the threshold, and you can see how you are going to be welcomed by the stair that leads you directly to the main floor, serendipity space being behind the stair. And if you were to just walk through that floor to that back, you would see those opportunities for object discovery. And also you would be able to peek into the rare book collection or archives on the right. And if you look up, we are confident that there's an opportunity to see the sky even from lower level. Going up to a main floor, if you came from a main door, you would be able to see that connection to a lower level and view towards the Case Sports Complex and greenery beyond the glass. To the right, if you turn, you would be able to see the Scholar Studio with glass leading towards that, making space focus on video and audio production. And this is basically walking towards that direction. View as you cross the threshold. On the left-hand side, you can see through glass the production of podcasts or perhaps recording going on, and students starting to gather for project making. On the other side of first floor, we see CTL work area that will be open tutoring space that is going to be leading both to offices for special appointments, classroom, and study spaces. This is also a view from first floor. If you were to leave CTL and decided to go up to a reading room, you would be previewed to a stair with the daylight coming from a skylight up above. Reading room on second floor is going to bring wonderful opportunity, not only for studying and inspiration, but also for respite in intellectual space where we're going to be connected to the outside, and in a quiet, focused way, we can be we cover the information we need for the day. Level 2 offers options. You can walk downstairs to join your colleagues on more active floors, or go upstairs perhaps for nutrition. And if you were to go upstairs to our cafe in a rooftop pavilion, you might be greeted by students studying, viewing the outside, or contemplating going out and getting that same view Doug had today. Or perhaps coming to join people for a cocktail hour before a lecture. That floor will be highly flexible to provide many different functions and opportunities for all. And the way we're going to get that flexibility at this point, we're envisioning a set of curtains that are going to be on flexible tracks that can close off in acoustically sensitive way portions of the floor. They can open up and allow for entire floor to live as well. When we think about outside, North Carolina and Davidson are perfect spots to really enjoy a broad shoulder season. And the rooftop is one of the most wonderful places to be there. What you see here is the view from the outside of the rooftop pavilion, looking at the green roof and the view towards the right, the treetops and chambers. On the left, you can see deep into the coffee shop and the study table set up for everyday activities. That's a nice view from the deck if you were to go right to the edge of it and look back. So additional thing that I want to share with you here is really, these are black and white views describing space that's supposed to do a lot of things. And when we say a lot of things, we're thinking about the well-being of all the occupants. And that for well-being to feel well, a lot of parts and pieces have to play right in our day. We spend majority of our time in buildings, and light in them deeply affects us. We know that appropriate learning and brain activity is stimulated by lighting, and having daylight in our space is a key for great results. The most important thing is choice and controllability of the light. And that said, we did daylight studies in existing building, which is on the top, the first three diagrams. The dark blue means no daylight. The yellow is where we would like to be. With our expanded openings and a full west curtain wall replacement, we can get daylight on the lower level, and then full daylight autonomy on the level 3 on the rooftop pavilion. Same, we looked at the rooftop pavilion to make sure that we not overlighting actually, and we'll continue doing these studies to make sure that awning over the entryway to the rooftop is designed properly and can provide shading that's appropriate. We understand that North Carolina weather is great, but not when it's full sun, and how that is going to change over the course of a day is going to be guiding us in a further design. Also, when we think about well-being, acoustics is one of those things that people get really sensitive about, and sometimes we don't know why we don't feel well in this space. We have a headache, and after a while we realize, well, there was a white noise that was too loud for us. So choice again is a key here, and different types of spaces, from highly acoustically separated to very open and lively, because we are all different. Additionally, when we think about our health and well-being, the air we breathe makes a ton of difference. Buildings can poison us, and making sure that healthy materials that are carcinogenic free are brought into this project is something that we're going to do. It's one of our specialties. We're nationally known leader in material research. Additionally, air quality. So on the right-hand side, you see a blue circle. That's the air sensor. Monitoring fresh air intake seems so much more obvious after the years we spent in COVID. We are making sure that your systems are going to be sensitive and responsive. And then there are some basic needs. We need privacy for daily medication, for well checks. The well-being room needs to be amassed. Additionally, there needs to be a choice in our restrooms, so everybody can choose how they please. And when we think about restrooms, they need to be designed not just for normal use, but also for needs of all the people. And one important note here is that we are all only temporarily able. And at those good days when we are able, we may forget, but all of us have bad days and worse days, and we need to be ready for that with these amenities. Same when we think about some basic design guidelines regarding dev space for signing. If students or visitors need additional help communicating with each other, providing enough room is important. Different furniture for different bodies, that seems quite obvious. And signage iconography that speaks to all. And wrapping it up, really when we think about the space dedicated for retreat, that's one of the things that we don't want to miss here. 66% of students currently in college are distressed and emotionally frail. Having places that support them is important. And the same goes for staff and faculty. And when we think about those spaces for stimulation are important as well. And stimulation is on a scale and range just like we are. And that said, really, the bottom line here is to provide a space that it's designed in an inclusive way, because we experience space through movement, making sure that people who use mobile devices or fully body able, sharing the safe space in an equitable way is really part of our mission here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dagmara. It's so exciting to see all the schematics evolve. So thank you for that. We'd like to now open it up for feedback to make sure we get questions and comments from everybody. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom if you can, and we'll try to make sure that we see all the hands that that go up. See if we can switch to. Okay, any questions? I might need a little help, Lauren, if you see any. I'm not a Zoom expert. There were a couple of questions that were submitted earlier. So I will, unless I see any questions, I will throw out a few of those. The first one was, how are students being consulted in the design process? Oh, looks like we do have a question there.
Mary
Hello,
Margaret.
Mary
It's actually Fritz. We
Hi,
did a
Fritz.
handoff midway through. So, well, thanks for the presentation. It's very impressive. I guess the question I had was, if I go back at least one or two generations, I'm not sure how many I go back, but I feel like among our peer institutions, there was the build out of student unions that were kind of the a big part of campus and a kind of evolution of institutions like Davidson. And my guess question is, is this project aligned with other peer institutions? Are they, pursuing things similar to this? Obviously, given, where our library is and the resources that it is, provides a great platform for us to do a project. But I'm just kind of curious how this fits into other institutions and where we may come out relative to some of those peer institutions. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start, Dagmar, and maybe you can pick it up. We traveled around for the last 3 years, and gosh, I think we probably went to like 30 different libraries. And most of our peers have already done this. So Smith, Haverford, Hamilton, everyone's been updating their libraries over the last few years. Some of them are really phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to see Smith's, I would highly recommend it. Haverford's is beautiful too. But I think people are recognizing how central the library really is to student success in terms of that community and social space and intellectual space, and are investing in similar ways. Dagmar, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I would say that has been a trend for quite a while now. So I'm glad you're catching up with your peer institutions, because that has been going on for a long time. And we know projects take time. So by the time we see Smith Library, that is already 10 years, 15 years ago, the idea. And as we're working on this all the time, we actually have a conversation, what's relevant and what's relevant in the future, because whatever we looking at now, that's the idea from the past. The biggest thing that has changed in libraries, they were book-centric. And now we know we learn from multiple sources. So we're never going to eliminate books, and books are in a way have a retro comeback. So as a source material and academic institution, that's really at the heart of your operations. But there are so many more ways of learning and growing. And academic libraries are finally stepping up to all those ways. So that's why you see those hands-on learning spaces as part of the library that were not there before. And also, it's really, you remember from your times in college, the library is the intellectual living room of the college, and it is truly alive at night. And the needs of students have shifted and broadened, and the way they raise right now is very different from the ways we all were raised, and they have different needs that need to be met.
Other questions? Comments? I don't see any hands up. Lauren, you might. A few other questions. One question that was submitted. There are designated places for quiet and silence. Why are both important for this new space?
Yeah, I can speak with that to that too. So we're seeing the quiet space as a space, the main reading room as one that's not completely silent. You can still reach over and talk to somebody, and the sound of a device is okay still. And we're seeing that silent space as one where really you're just in there really to read and no talking, and even a space to disconnect from technology. So we're looking at, boxes to lock up your cell phone and things like that. What we heard from students in our focus group work again and again was that, quiet is such a gift, and there's very few places to find it on campus. So that's speaking to that we heard loud and clear.
Any other questions? Let me, okay, one other submitted question for MSR, with Doug Maha. What are the distinctive elements of the Davidson Library that you think may stand out from other libraries that you've worked on?
I think that ethos of Davidson is unique. There are similar schools, but not that many in the country that have similar values to yours. You're in a really pristine place, historically complex, absolutely stunning, with beautiful traditions and wonderful student values. And it might sound cliche-like, but people make the difference. And working with not only Lisa and Doug, but also with the faculty and students, I think one of the questions was how do we interact with students? We meet with them almost every time we're on campus. Is really providing the guidance to the design of this library. And that's what's different and especially unique. The serendipity space that we touched on and the opportunity to discover objects and self-guide yourself that students will be presented with is absolutely unique. The connection between the archive materials, race and justice, and the work you're doing in all different platforms is another very important crossroad that not many colleges have going on for them. As far as space and the opportunity with space, actually, this is a large building that is going to have diversity of experience that is going to really put you ahead of your peers. And often when we have these discussions, we talk about your peer institutions. We talk about Hunt Library, for example, not too far from you. And how is it different from Davidson? What's different about Davidsonian ethos? And what Lisa mentioned about Silent Room is part of it. Recognition that not only we have different needs, but also it is about unplugging, about quiet, and about finding what you need within you before you go forward. And that's part of the scholarship that is going to be reflected in a design.
That's great.
Could I add one
Questions?
thing, Andy? To
Sure.
to what Dagmara said. To me, it's such a revelation that the library is in the dead center of campus, and it feels like a fortress because there's really one main entrance, and our predecessors 50 years ago put in lots of windows, and then they made them all dark brown so that you can't see into the library. And now we're going to make it completely open with access on both sides from the Case Track and Field Complex and Chambers and the Sculpture Garden. We'll have indoor, outdoor spaces. And I see it being a vibrant heart of campus life. And, we have different core campus buildings, but I think there will be like a triangle between the Alvarez College Union, the Abernathy Library, and Chambers, with Wall and Watson and Dana playing an important, the music building playing important academic sides. But this library is literally connecting student life, athletics, and academics. So for me, that location is so great, and that our forebears had the good sense to build a very strong building that is both ecologically and financially better to renovate than to tear down and start over. So we're going to make the most of this wonderful space right in the heart of campus.
That's great. Any other last questions from anyone? Nothing. Okay, well,
You can go back to the first one only because Fritz asked his question. So we didn't get the answer to the first one.
oh, was that are students being consulted
Mhm.
in the design process? Maybe Doug.
Yeah, they have. And actually, we were just out at Davidson last week, and we had a session with students around on a couple different topics. One of them was wellness, and one thing that came up, which was really wonderful, and we applied it the next day in our conversations, was nutrition. So it seems like there are a lot of things that students are okay with and happy with. For example, quality of air is something that they don't understand or recognize. It's a good, it means that COVID passed. It's great. Nutrition was the first and the most important thing to all of them. I think that you all done a really nice job. We all did. I have kids in college. Feeding our kids during the times where they stayed more at home than they not normally did. They learn a lot about nutrition through social media and education, and Davidson does a really good job fostering those healthy habits, and they would like that available at midnight when they're studying for the exam. So right the next day we had that conversation and talked about cafe options, and can acai bowl be on the menu? So those are small things. But they prove the students that are being listened to, and this is just one of many, many, many examples that we hear and try to test.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Well, unless there are any other questions, I wanted to echo Yvette in thanking you all to coming tonight, to dialing in to hear about the transformation of the new library. On a personal note, my wife and I are so excited to be supporting this library, to have a convening place on campus, another convening place on campus that students are inspired by, are proud of. And we really, really think this will be that. Just to keep everyone, just so everyone knows where we are, I think Doug mentioned this, but the full cost of the library is expected to be about $110 million. At this point, we've raised $99 million. So we're on the way, but we do hope this meeting has allowed all of you to learn more about how we where we are along the process and how we hope to get there. So thank you so much for coming. Unless there are any other comments or questions, thank you so much for coming, and we hope you will consider supporting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.